construction sector. I acknowledge the valued presence of distinct guests here. Dear sirs and all the participants who have joined us today, I would like to inform you that FTCCI is on its 105th years of journey, and since its inception has been proactively working for the benefit of trade and industry. At the Federation House, we are very mindful and have conscious decision to take support the environmental ecosystem and industries to thrive, and today's event is one such of a kind. Before I invite dignitaries on the dais, we would like to show a short promotional video of FTCCI. Now, I invite Professor Krishna Reddy, Chairman, the State Expert Appraisal Committee, Telangana State Pollution Control Board, to please come on to the dais. I request President Mr. Anil Agarwal, sir, to please accompany the chief guest. I also request Dr. Vijay Lakshmi, Associate Professor from the JNTU, to please come on to the dais. I request Senior Vice President to please accompany the guest. I also request Mr. Y. Maheshwara Reddy, Managing Director from Pioneer Enviro Consultants Private Limited, to please come on to the dais. I request President Mr. Anil Agarwal, sir, to please welcome the guest by presenting a plant. And also to Mr. Y. Maheshwara Reddy Garu. Thank you, sir. May I now request Mr. Anil Agarwal, President of FTCCI, to please deliver the welcome address.
Good evening. Professor Krishna Reddy ji, Chairman of TSSCAC, Telangana Government. Dr. Vijay Lakshmi Tattiparthi, Associate Professor and Head of the Department, JNTU, Hyderabad. Mr. Y. Maheshwar Reddy, Managing Director of Pioneer Enviro Labs. Managing Committee members, Co-Chair of the Committee, participants, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to this event on Environment Clearance Certificate and its significance in construction sector. This is one of the series of events which we do all throughout the year. We do almost more than 100 events in a year, imparting knowledge to various sectors to all the industries on various sectors. Construction sector is also one of the important sector, and it is the fastest growing sector in Telangana state. For any country, construction sector is very important for their development. And in Telangana, the kind of development which we are seeing, the kind of infrastructure development which we are seeing, is I think it is one of the leading state in the country. Not only the infra development will be there, it provides a lot of employment. It provides a lot of employment generation for the labor class. It influences our economy, and it shows the well-being of the state. But at the same time, the kind of damage it brings to the environment, that also should be looked into it. And it is our duty to protect the environment, especially the species, what are there in the environment. We have to protect them. Government is also doing from their side the necessary steps to protect the environment. One of the steps they have taken recently is they have brought cheetahs. Like in India, cheetahs have become extinct. I think there were hardly any cheetahs. So from Namibia, they got 10 numbers of cheetahs. And recently there was a report in the newspaper that we got 2 baby cubs also, 4 baby cubs. Recently we got that news. So we hope that the environment balance with this ecosystem of our environment should be balanced, and we should be mindful of our activities. There are a lot of encroachments of riverbeds, water bodies, which will adversely affect our environment. Because what will happen, the flow of water will be restricted. If construction is not planned in a proper way, then flooding happens. We have seen in the 2001, the kind of flooding which we have seen. Lot of, I think, our my office was in Balanagar. In Balanagar also, I think it was submerged. Almost it was submerged on that day. There will be a lot of damage to the properties. So to take care of that, naturally we have to be mindful, and we have to, the government has to bring out some legislations. And one of the legislation is for industry sector or for any sector we talk about, environment clearance. We have to take environment clearance for a particular size of the industry. If you talk about construction sector, it is, if I'm not wrong, it is more than 20,000 square meter. You have to take environment clearance. So this is a legal document issued by the government that certifies that a particular construction project has been assessed for its potential environmental impact and has been granted permission to proceed after complying with certain conditions and mitigation measures. I run an industry. For a particular size of industry, like I am into steel sector, for if I'm having a particular capacity of the industry, if I'm planning for a higher capacity, then I have to take environment clearance. So like that, all the sectors, including pharma, you take whatever. So construction sector is also not an exception. The large multipurpose projects that are undertaken by the government at state and central level are to be consciously analyzed, and the environment impact assessment will help understand the socio-economic economic impact of that project. If you don't know, we are seeing KBR Park, because I go to KBR Park. It is a 400 acres natural park, and it's a national park. If you would not have protected that, this would have been also a concrete jungle. Whoever visits to Hyderabad, if he goes to KBR, he says it is a crown of Hyderabad. Naturally, it is a crown of Hyderabad. If you go inside, it is a natural jungle. It is not a man-made. We can find all kinds of trees which we find in the jungle. So to protect that, naturally, we have to take many steps. Government is taking steps, and we as a citizen, and for our better future, which we can give to our future generation, we have to protect our environment. So we should understand the significance and the importance of getting environment clearance and work towards protecting our environment while also allowing for development to take place naturally. Development should also happen, but at the same time, environment should also be protected. We will be listening from our experts today in construction, especially in construction sector, for getting an EC. What are the requirements? What are the challenges, and how it can be mitigated? I hope this event will provide you with valuable insights on the importance of getting environment clearance in the construction and infra sectors. So I hope you will be benefited and the session will be fruitful. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. May I now invite Dr. Vijay Lakshmi, Associate Professor and Head of the Department Center for Environment from JNTU Jawaharlal Nehru Technological University, to please address the gathering.
Yeah, very good evening to one and all, and to President, the Telangana Federation of Chamber of Commerce and Industries, and Chairman Dr. Krishna Reddy Garu and Maheshwar Reddy Garu and Jaydev Garu, and all the invitees. Very good afternoon and good evening to one and all. I thank all organizers for giving this opportunity to share the environmental clearance or the issues related to the environment and its impact with reference to the construction industry. And as we all know, after post-COVID, rather, the industry which has reached its pinnacle in the growth and in the development is the construction industry is one among the others, especially when you see in Hyderabad. So we can see, like, we don't have to go to any other database. We ourselves can feel the growth of the Hyderabad in western side or wherever we are living in and around our Hyderabad. So the first part is like, what are the growth corridors we have in Hyderabad or in Telangana per se? And the reports or the statistics and the press and the media coverage, they say that almost 6 to 7% growth is there in the construction sector post-COVID quarters, 21 and 22. And in India by 2025, they say that there's a scope of 1.4 to 1.5 trillion economy is involved in the construction sector. That's what the reports are saying. So environmental clearance part, especially impact assessment for any kind of developmental activities. We have a statutes, guidelines, regulations stipulated by the government of India, and we have a ministry to look after all the guidelines, regulations, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, who guides us like with guidelines, regulations and all. So as part of the MOEF and CC, we have EIA guidelines right from 2006 onwards, and the history says like India is one among the country first who had come forward to sign this particular Environmental Protection Act or whatever during late 1974 onwards, when our late Prime Minister Srimati Indira Gandhi was there. So she was the one who started environmental importance of environment in India and all. So I'm sure my colleagues and chairperson will be delivering more on the impact assessment guidelines. So the criteria which is behind the construction sector, like having a 20,000 square kilometers above and all, reaching to the state level clearance committee, and above some guidelines reaching to the central and all that. So I'll be taking few case studies I'll be showing you during my next couple of 5 to 10 minutes. Every one of us, I'm sure, like what the EIA scope we have, the procedures or the steps involved in EIA process. So I'll be taking like how we arrive at. So many steps are there. The first slide. Yeah. So coming to the construction aspect only, we have so many constructions areas. Coming to industrial construction, infrastructure, energy and utilities construction, institutional construction and residential construction. And we all know like Hyderabad is among the top rated, especially when you go with residential construction and infrastructure part. We ourselves are seeing so many subways, so many flyovers, so many internal roads or outer ring roads on inner radial roads and all that. So construction is one among. So what are the guidelines we have? We have set of procedures in the EIA process right from the scoping. What is the scope of that particular activity or whatever? Yeah, next please. So we have a scoping part where we have the proponent determines if project requires EC or not, the guidelines as per the MOEFCC. And screening part and scoping, we conduct the scoping study and terms of reference and all will be stipulated by the statutory body or the authorized persons and all. Preparation of EIA report, public consultation, appraisal, final EC letter awarding and post monitoring. So I'll be talking about preparation of EIA report and post monitoring, because I'm presently before that I just want to say a few words about myself. I'm presently heading Center for Environment in Jawaharlal Nehru Technological University, and my area of specialization is environmental geomatics. So we do all the land use, land cover analysis, watershed management, other GIS related and remote sensing related activities our department takes up, and our colleagues are working on it. So we are concerned with preparation of EIA report and post monitoring. So in preparation of EIA report, like we have so many data, getting the data acquisition or baseline data monitoring, and then with reference to all the spheres like soil or the environment with reference to the air environment, water environment, right? Soil, noise environment. So many environment. We need to collect the baseline data or the preliminary data. So what are the tools that are there with reference to the collection of database and preparing those things? So that I'll be considering concentrating on it, and the post monitoring. Yeah, next. So the advances, like we have tools and technologies, especially to do the EIA monitoring on the database collection and the post monitoring and preparation of draft report. So remote sensing and GIS are valuable tools in the EC process for construction projects. As we are dealing with the construction sector today, our focus theme is on that. And geographical information system, they are used in construction to assist with planning, design, and management. So where exactly the planning like? So whatever the activity, even with coming to the ORR or the SEZ designs or the SEZ zoning part, special economic zones and all that. So the design aspect and management aspect, and provide a spatial and temporal perspective on the potential environmental impact of the project and help in decision-making process. So the technology is available with us to see what will be the project, the post-project impact on the environment or whatever. We can model it without the activity being coming into picture. So we have a modeling aspect using the remote sensing and GIS that can be taken up with reference to the spatial and temporal aspect. So in terms of spatial data, like how it existed like previously, and what is the impact, like if a building comes up in any of the area, so we can predict the future scenarios. So that is one aspect. And temporarily, like on a time scale, like all of us must have used the Google images, like on a time scale, we can go back to 1980s or 70s or whatever the data is available. So 1960, late 60s onwards, we have the remote sensing data available all over the globe, and few countries, they have the data available. So in 60s, how the Hyderabad looks like, late 60s, we can get it. And now we can see the development, like over the 50 years of change or 60 years of decades, 6 decades of change, what has impacted either on a drainage or on a soil or a geographical changes in terms of geomorphology. So those things we can assess. And they provide substantial capabilities for viewing, analyzing, querying, and mapping environmental data. So what will be the water quality like? So if any STP comes up before and after STP treatment process, before entering and after releasing into this Nala or whatever, so we can predict the water quality data. Like say, for example, if you release some amount of effluent at one particular point, right? We can, using the GIS and all, we can simulate like after 1 kilometer or a half a kilometer, what will be the dilution effect and all that. So based on that particular decision making support, we can go for a planning purpose, like installation of STPs. Like it is not that wherever we want, we can go and install a STP. Like so, there is a decision support system based on a technical and scientific evaluation process. So that can be taken up using the GIS and remote sensing, especially in construction sector. Next, please. So especially in site selection, planning and design, project management, asset management, emergency response planning. So these are the areas like where you can use the technology, especially identifying potential sites for construction. What are the best suited sites in terms of stability, in terms of, especially we are saying like a lot of research is there, especially in terms of seismic also. So the seismic zone classification, we have 2, 3, 4, and all the zones have been classified. But now the government is thinking of shifting a particular areas into, earlier they may be in seismic zone 2. Right now, because of the land use activities and all, they may be reclassified into zone 3 and 4 like that. So in view of that, you can have a site design aspect, site selection, then analyzing various factors such as topography, land use, zoning regulations, and access to transportation and utilities. So what is the connectivity is there, whether linking infrastructure, whether it is that particular site or an area or a township or whatever, they have affinity or the connectivity is there. That can be viewed before only. So planning and design aspect, creating maps and analyzing spatial data to help with planning and design. to identify potential environmental constraints such as wetlands, floodplains, and protected areas, and incorporate them in the design process. So if any wetlands or anything protected areas or heritage sites or whatever you have, archaeologically important sites you have, that can be taken in consideration during the planning and design aspect itself. And during the project management, you have using the GIS as one of the tool, you can timelines and the budget and the resource allocation can be used in the project management itself, and to track the progress of the construction projects by monitoring the status of individual tasks as well as overall the project timelines. Then asset management, such as tracking the location and condition of buildings, roads, and other infrastructural assets, you can do that. And emergency response, like the identifying potential hazards, assessing the risk, and identifying evacuation routes. In any emergency routes, we can go with the planning of this particular response and all that. So even a simple Uber or Ola also takes us like traffic, like our destination and all that can be viewed in terms of that. So there is one emergency response planning we have. Next, please. So the life cycle is planning, data collection, and environmental analysis. You can see this major contribution is providing information on site location, including environmental impacts, economic analysis, right? Regulatory permissions, alternative site analysis, and then sustainability issues, data overlay, risk analysis, and all that. So alternative site analysis. So the technology is available to give you the construction sector alternative sites like. So even whatever the activities that are there in your DPR or whatever the EIA project, even a simple rainwater harvesting structure can be based on a decision purpose. So you have generally it is off the record. I'm saying some proponents or the developer may say some cross, if the polygon or the site is irregular and the corner that is not matching, they may leave it for a green belt or a rainwater harvesting, that is whatever. But there is a decision or technically it is involved like institutioning harvesting site also, rainwater harvesting. So there is a technology or the scientific basis is involved in it. And then data collection, precise site data used for pre-design inspection, design and calculations with respect to the topography, soil, subsurface geology, traffic, and imaging sensitive environmental areas, wetlands, hydrology, and other site-specific design and design grade data. So here actually the topography part is, see your site may be having a little bit of undulations, like without disturbing the undulations, without disturbing the terrain, you can go with the construction, like a big high-rise structures that are coming up in the Hyderabad itself, like you have so many 3 or 5 hectares of land or whatever. So there also, without disturbing the topography, you can go with your construction design aspects. So environmental analysis, the soil or whatever the load and all that you can do with, especially in the monitoring of weather data, meteorological data can be taken in the decision-making purpose. Next. So these are the design and construction and operational maintenance have the GIS can be utilized, especially in the construction side. Like in the EIA process, you will be doing the impact assessment before the project, during the project, and post-project, right? Project completion period also. So all the 3 stages of the project activity, you can use this particular technology. And in the operation, like spatial selection and display tools and allowing the visualizations, schedule work, ongoing activities, recurring and maintenance problems, and historical information can be input into the database. Next. So these are the township and area development projects, building and infrastructure, urban development. So integrating the information on natural resources, demographic and socioeconomic data in GIS domain with the currently available satellite data. See, we have India on par with any of the developed nations. We can proudly say we have pride and proud to say that India stands among the top nations as especially in the space sector with reference to the development or research or whatever you say. So utilization of that particular space data, especially in construction sector, in preparation of or in choosing the site, especially So the data is available in NRSC, National Remote Sensing Center website. Freely available data sets are available. So any proponent can view that data, whether that site is suitable for that particular aspect or a construction of a multi or a high-rise building or not. So that kind of analysis can be done before the EIA or during the EIA process. So valuable tool for analyzing and updating the GIS maps, detecting significant changes in urban land cover and land use part. So next, please. So these are the few, in a nutshell, we can say updating information on road networks and other in urban infrastructure, collection and analysis of data on population density, distribution and growth, whether that particular city or the state or the country, whether it's having a sustainable growth or not. So we can do a land consumption versus population growth analysis also we can do. How much of the land is consumed with respect to the population growth. So that kind of analysis we can do. And preparation of housing typology for any of the developmental activity, analysis of watersheds, landscape development, 3D modeling and infrastructure modeling. So these are the areas. Next, please. So areas where geospatial technology, GST stands for geospatial technology, that is nothing but remote sensing, GIS, GPS and all encompassing fields can be applied to. So these are the areas, like 16 areas, like as we all know, like we have rating system. So LEED certification or IGBC certification or Gruha certification. So all these certification processes are involved majorly on these kind of 16 parameters, like assessing the parameters, the database that is being submitted by the client or by the proponent. So whether that particular database is reliable or not, right? So the geospatial technology is one technology that is non-manipulative. It will not lead to any kind of ambiguity or bias or whatever. So these are the areas like we can apply this particular tool or the technology, especially resilient measures for climate and disasters, city soil preservation, preservation of water bodies and tree cover, then city landscape, encourage development in environmentally degraded areas, urban heat island mitigations, social initiatives, slum redevelopment. If you remember a few years back, we had Rajiv Awas Yojana, like slum development and all that. So where this particular technology was used. Then integrated land use, green belt environment, encouraging using of public transport. So connectivity from one place to the other, multimodal transport corridor, we say that. Then smart parking programs, enhancing pedestrian pathways, rainwater harvesting, solid waste management, lighting efficiency, and renewable energy for built environment. Next, please. So I'll be showing, we did, one of our students did a project on part of the Sherlingampalli municipality. So you can just see some of the images or the maps that have been produced from come out of our lab. So this is one of the topo sheet you can see. Yeah. So these are the data sets we have seen. I mean, we have used snapshot of the satellite data and tools which we have used, previous data and present data we have taken. The next please. So these are the delineation of building footprint and appending ground level data. So if you see any, whatever the buildings we have mapped in some of the areas, like we have used a criteria based decision. So having a rooftop area or a footprint area and attaching the database, like who is the owner of it, how many floors are there, and what is the use and the category, whatever the database we have appended to it, to the building footprint. Next, please. So this is the one of the GHMC land use land cover map. You can just see the nighttime or the daytime temperatures. So because of your concrete, I mean the development of all the buildings and all that. So how the temperature varies, like nighttime temperatures and the daytime temperatures. Next. And flood map of Cyberabad, we have taken part of this, and sensitive areas we have mapped with a buffer of I think 100 meters, I suppose. Yeah. So we have taken a buffer given to those sensitive areas, a small park or urban parks or whatever that are there in this that particular Cyberabad area we have taken. Next. So water bodies we have done using the remote sensing data, change analysis we have done, and how much of the area has decreased or increased, especially with reference to the water bodies. Next. So the landscape map we have developed, percentage of open area to that of the landscape is only 3.63%, which is not a good sign actually. Yeah, next. So these are the development in environmentally degraded areas. We have done a study, like in the sense we have analyzed soil quality, water quality, and the air quality, and flora and fauna. So based on that based on the criteria, we have developed this as a sensitive area. Next, please. So transit-oriented development with multiple corridors we have done, reducing the urban sprawl and associated environmental impacts. Next. So public transport, the connectivity from one particular place to the other place, mode of transport where you have the bus or whatever the metro or whatever routes we have done this particular study. Yeah, next. So parking program in that Cyberabad area only we have concentrated where the parking spaces are available. So on this you can overlay the transport corridor. On this you can overlay the building footprint. So you'll exactly get to know which building within the vicinity of say 10 meters or 20 meters there is a parking system is available. Like that kind of analysis we can do. Next. Yeah, rainwater harvesting structure and the drainage pattern you can see. And drainage pattern we have studied like right now I don't have that, like last 10 years to 20 years, 2 decadal changes we have studied. So because of the construction activity or whatever, the first order streams or the undefined streams rather, I can say it's not the first order or undefined streams in topo sheets which were generated or surveyed and generated during 80s, 1980s and all. And from that, Google Images 85 onwards we have and all that. So if you do all this time series analysis over the space and time, you will see some of the streams are missing actually. Whatever there on the topo sheet, they are no longer available on the present satellite data. So that impact also you can assess further. Next. So this is one of the building overlay on this particular area you can see. Next. So this is one example for the energy and environment part we have done in the Cyberabad only. We have taken a rooftop area and we have calculated each individual building, how much energy, the solar energy installations can be taken up and how much energy can be saved. So that part with reference to the construction. Yeah, next. So this is one building only we have taken in Cyberabad having a square feet and all that. So this is the stats we are going to, we are showing here how much of the reduction or the in terms of CO2 emissions can be from each building that can be. Yeah, next. So the lighting efficiency, whether that particular corridor or whatever, the lighting efficiency is good or not, that also individual poles and all that we can be mapped and it can be integrated in the database. Next. So this is how we have done the one case study with land consumption versus population growth for the Sherlingampalli municipality only. Next, I'll show you the images. So degree of urbanization, next please. And this is the population viewer, we can say each grid represents so much population 2000 to 2010 and 20. You can just see the growth, population growth, how it has increased especially. And the center one shows you the 2021, you can just see Secunderabad and Hyderabad. The dark tones give you the density of the population, like higher density. Yeah. So this is the land use land cover map of Sherlingampalli municipality. You can see the 12, 19, yeah, next. Yeah, 16 and 19 also we have done. Next, please. So this is how the urban, the classification schema, we have given the statistics for 12, 16 and 19, how it has changed in that particular Sherlingampalli. Yeah. So overall change is given here. So you, the one you may get a question by how come a barren rocky area has increased. So here the construction and demolition waste that was piling in the Cyberabad area, the imagery had taken that also. So that was classified into this. That is the reason it has increased. Yeah, next. So urban heat islands, pixel level like annual daytime and nighttime intensity, you can just see. These are all the free data sets like. one open or the research area where or the area that where construction sector can concentrate is like because of urban sprawl, because of the urbanization, how much of the urban heat islands are going on or in Hyderabad, that can be assessed. So that is one aspect. Next. So another tool is like remote sensing and GIS we have, and another tool is you all must have seen the drone applications in UAV. So provide more detailed information, then quickly transmit collected data, then fly the same mission over and over. Especially in construction industry, post monitoring or during operational phase, you can employ this particular technology for monitoring sites, tracking and managing and communicating work site status and effortlessly. So you just fly over the high-rise buildings. Say, for example, in Hyderabad, we have 30 plus vertical rise buildings are coming up like anything, like a number of buildings are coming. So monitoring them with the workforce or manpower, like it depends on the personnel you are employing and lot of labor intensive. So instead, if you have this particular technology, you can track all the things. Then it makes inspections can be made safer, faster, and easier. Yeah. So this is the few examples. Like long back, we have done one particular site, and we just analyze like repeatedly. You can cover those areas, like the construction areas. You can progress. I mean, you can see the progress. Like 15 levels or 15 floors are completed, or 20 floors, or what is the status of that? Instead of depending on your site engineers or the field personnel, you can just fly and immediately transmit the data, and you can see in no time. So that is one of the advantage in any of the EIA during the operational phase. Next. So in conclusion, the rapid advances in the development of space technology, data products, tools and software, hardware have attracted the awareness among several sectors, including construction sector as the main, and which helps in regional planning and urban development, critical infrastructure protection, natural hazards and environmental issues, ecosystem protection and services, road alignment studies, traffic management, land cover and land use studies, water resource management. So in general, like it supports all the phases of the construction sector. So all the activities that are there in the EIA process, right from your site selection to the monitoring aspect, you can use the technology. So other guidelines and all, like what are the government norm says or the rule says, that can be taken up any from the published material. So these are the, I just want to share with the August gathering some of the case studies which our department has done. I thank the organizers for giving this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. May I invite Mr. Sunil Chandra Reddy, Chair of the Infrastructure, Real Estate and Smart Cities Committee, to please give introductory remarks.
Friends, I need to apologize for coming a little late. I got tied up with some family work. Sorry for that. So friends, I am Sunil Chandra Reddy. I am the Chair of Infrastructure, Real Estate and Smart Cities Committee in FTCCI. It's my great privilege to welcome Professor Krishna Reddy Garu, who is the Chairman of TSSEAC, the State Expert Appraisal Committee of Telangana State Pollution Control Board, Dr. Vijay Lakshmi Thatiparthi, Associate Professor and Head of the Department, Center for Environment, JNTU, Hyderabad, Mr. Y. Maheshwar Reddy, Managing Director, Pioneer Enviro Consultants Private Limited, Mr. Anil Agarwal, President, FTCCI, Mr. Meela Jaydev, Senior Vice President, FTCCI, and all the dignitaries of the dais. I'm delighted to welcome all of you for today's awareness program on the Environmental Clearance Certificate and its significance in the construction industry. The history of environmental clearances, we all know, have started from the 1970s, where certain man-made disasters started to take place. Of course, the watershed year, unfortunately, was the Bhopal gas tragedy in 1984. That is when a lot of regulatory framework came into being. There are numerous construction and development projects in the public and private sectors that are happening today. Building infrastructure projects in real estate boost business and many other related industries. At the same time, operations in the construction sector, unplanned and unsustainable construction can lead to severe impact in the environment, which are a huge concern to all of us. We are seeing how various localities are getting submerged in water during the rainy season, causing water pollution and disease. Therefore, the building construction projects were brought under the ambit of the environmental clearance and require EIA reporting. These are especially large projects above 5 lakh square feet, which require to come under the regulatory framework. In the construction sector, the environment clearance certificate is significant because it ensures that construction activities are carried out in an environmentally sustainable manner without causing any harm to the environment, ecology, and public health. It also helps in minimizing the adverse impacts of the construction project on the natural resources such as water, soil, air, flora, fauna, and the local community. Awareness programs as today that is taken up by FTCCI can play a crucial role in educating construction professionals and developers about the importance of obtaining an ECC and following environmentally responsible practices. They can also provide guidance on how to prepare a comprehensive EIA report and ensure compliance with environmental regulations and guidelines. Therefore, it is very important to move towards sustainable development, ensuring that the environment is protected while also allowing the development to take place. Hopefully, this session will be rewarding for all of you. Thank you for attending.
Thank you, sir. I now invite Professor Krishna Reddy, Chairman, the State Expert Appraisal Committee, Telangana State Pollution Control Board, to deliver the keynote address.
So good evening to everybody. So Andarki Namaskaram. So I am very much thankful to the organizers. So the president to Mr. Anil Agarwal, FTCCI, and the Sunil Chandra Reddy, Chair Infrastructure, Real Estate and Smart Cities Committee, FTCCI, and the Meela Jayadev, Senior Vice President, FTCCI, and the other members of the FTCCI, and all the dignitaries, the hall. So I am very much impressed to be here as the chief guest of this function. So I am going to brief introduction towards how the environmental clearance is granted to the projects. So this in this term we have given the 3,000 environmental clearance to so many different categories. So in which more than 1,500 environmental clearances granted to the construction sector only, more than 1,500, and 455 pharma companies so EC has been granted in this term, and remaining is mining. Mining is more around 2,000, and 10-15 are steel factories and other sectors. So I'm going to give the brief introduction how the EC is granted for the construction field. So first it is started in Okay. So in the year of 1977-78, the EIA is an administrative requirement based on the Central Water Commission guidelines. So first it started in 1977, and the amendment has been given in 1994. EIA legislation with 13 amendments during the 1994, and 2006 there are 32 number of development projects. So after it, 1997, public hearing is mandatory for all EIA category projects. So in the 2006 EIA notification is in suppression of 1994 notification for 34 numbers of development projects, public consultation in place of public hearing. Next slide. So how stages in the pre-year environmental clearance process? So this is stage 1. It involves 4 stages. The first stage is screening for the EIA requirement. The second is the scoping. The third is public consultation based on draft EIA. The stage 4 is appraisal based on the final EIA. So the first one, screening. So screening refers to scrutiny of the category B projects seeking pre-year environmental clearance made in Form A by the concerned state level expert appraisal committee for determining whether or not the project requires further environmental studies for preparation of EIA for its appraisal depending upon the nature and location specificity of the project. So the category B projects will be further screened at the state level categorization into the B1 or B2, specific guidelines to be evolved by MOF. So there are 2 types of categories, category B1 and category B2. So category B1 is requires EIA and category B2 do not require EIA. So scoping. Scoping refers to the process by which the EAC in the case of category A projects or activities. SEAC in the case of category B1 projects activities determine detailed and comprehensive TORs addressing all the relevant environmental concerns for the preparation of EIA report. The scope of EIA of an EIA is the issue and impact it addresses. Scoping in the process of deciding which of the project's possible alternatives and impacts should be addressed in the EIA. An EIA should be focused only on the significant issues and impacts. So first application form, pre-feasibility report and draft TOR. Then it goes to the SEAC or EAC committee for TOR, the intimation of the final TOR to the project proponent. Appraisal. So appraisal means the detailed scrutiny by the expert appraisal committee or state level expert appraisal committee of the application and other documents submitted by the applicant for grant of environmental clearance. So what is EIA? Screening first, then scoping, baseline studies, alternatives, impact prediction, impact assessment, mitigation, EAS preparation and monitoring. So environmental clearance for the construction projects 1994 notification. So this is the EIA notification amendment to SO 801E dated 7th July 2004. Any construction project falling under entry 30 new construction projects of the Schedule 1, including new townships, industrial townships, settlement colonies, commercial complexes, hotel complexes, hospitals, and office complexes. For that is now it is changed. So 1,000 persons or below, or discharge sewage of 50,000 liters per day or below, with an investment of 50 crores rupees or below, public hearing followed by the appraisal EIA. This is 2004 notification. So pre-year environmental clearance for the construction of projects dated 14/9/2006. This is the amendment in 2006. So building and construction projects. So if the construction is more than 20,000 square meters and below 150 square meters of the built-up area, it will not require the EIA. So whereas township area, whereas the projects or activities shall not be included industrial shed, schools, colleges, hotels for education institutions, but such buildings shall ensure sustainable environmental management, solid and liquid water management, waste management, rainwater harvesting, and many use recycled materials such as fly, ash, and bricks. So general conditions shall not apply. So next is the township and area development projects. So covering an area more than 50 hectares or built up area more than 150 hectares square meters. All projects under them, 8B shall be appraised at category B1. Next. So why consultant sector is made accountable? So intergovernmental panel and climate change, construction and building sector is responsible for approximately 39% of the global energy related carbon dioxide emissions. Indian construction sector is estimated to contribute the 8% of the country's total greenhouse gas emissions. So contributor factors. So energy use, building materials, waste, construction debris, hazardous waste and packaged materials, land use, impact on the land leading to the deforestation, soil erosion and loss of biodiversity. So initiatives and policies, sustainable building materials voluntary, energy efficient building designs voluntary, use of renewable energy sectors voluntary, energy conservation building code mandatory for commercial. So green building rating GRIHA or IGBC voluntary, pre-or environment clearance mandatory. So category B projects. So appraisal at the state level, the state government, state environment impact assessment authority, on the recommendation of the SESE, in the options of a duly constituted SEIA or SESE, a category project shall be appraised at the central level. So this is the environment clearance process, how it takes place. Category B2 projects. First, this is they will apply it to the start checklist. So technical review by the SESA, SEIA, then appraisal by the SESE, and recommended. If it is recommended, it goes to the authority. Then it is release of the environmental clearance to the order. So if it is not recommended, it is returned to the proponent. So for category B1 projects, so first to start checklist information, then the technical review by the SESE, specifications, TOR by the EIA by SESE, then RE. Next it goes to technical review by the SEIA. So if it is appraisal by the SESE, it goes to the not recommended by the SESE, it will back to the proponent. So if it is recommended, it goes to the SEIA and granted EC, will be granted EC. So B1 category project expansion. So obtaining EC compliance report from the, this is regional office of MOF, site visit by the regional office, and issue of the compliance letter, and checklist information form A and 1A compliance letter, then technical review by the SESE, specification of TOR for EIA by SESE, then EIA EMP preparation, technical review by the SEIA. If it is communicate inadequate, then appraisal by the SESE, recommended by the SESE, then it will be given. So if it is rejected, it will return to the proponent. So essence of EIA for building and real estate projects. So brief description of the project in terms of location and surroundings. So environment impact on project land and its surroundings, developments and vice versa. Water balance chart with a view to promote wastewater treatment, recycle, reuse and water conservation. Wastewater treatment and its details including target standards. So alterations in the natural scope and drainage pattern and their environment impact on the surroundings. So groundwater potential of the site and likely impact of the project. Solid waste management during construction and post-construction phases. Air quality and noise levels. Likely impact on the project during construction and operational phase. So energy requirements with a view to minimize power consumption and promote use of renewable energy sources. Traffic circulation system and connectivity with a view to ensure adequate parking, conflict-free movement, energy efficient public transport.
green belt and green cover, and the landscape plan, disaster and risk management, risk assessment and management plan, socio-economic impact of the project and CSR, EMP during the construction and operational phases, any other related parameters of the projects which may have any other specific impact on the environmental sustainability and ecology. So EMP and topography and natural drainage. So natural drainage system at site should be maintained for ensuring unrestricted flow of water. No construction is allowed on wetland and water bodies. Drainage in and around site should be managed as per the CPHEO manual on stormwater drainage system 2019 notification. Soil erosion control measures should be taken before, during and after construction and conform to the best management practices highlighted in the National Building Code of India 2016. So EMP adaptation of water conservation and methods for employing the rainwater harvesting, groundwater recharge. No groundwater shall be used during the construction phase of the project except with prior approval by the Central Groundwater Authority. An area where groundwater recharge is not feasible, rainwater should be harvested and stored for reuse as per load bylaws provisions on rainwater harvesting. If local bylaws provisions are not available, provision for storage and recharge should be followed as per the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development Model Building Bylaws 2016. Rooftop and non-rooftop water harvesting plans should be designed and implemented to capture at least 1 day rainfall runoff volume from roof and non-roof areas in a manner that prevents possible contamination of groundwater. The storage of capacity of the rainwater harvested should be minimum of 1 day of total freshwater requirement. Minimum 20% of the open spaces shall be previous use of grass paver blocks with at least 50% openings should also be considered as previous surface. So this is very important. EMP management of sewage, wastewater, reuse and recycle of treated wastewater by the dual plumbing system. So dual plumbing system shall be implemented, one for fresh water and other for the supply of treated wastewater for flushing. So in no case sewage or untreated wastewater generated within the project area shall not be discharged through stormwater drains or otherwise into the water bodies, not discharge or inject into the groundwater by any mode. On-site sewage treatment plant with capacity to treat 100% wastewater generator shall be installed. Treated wastewater shall be reused on site for landscape, flushing, HVAC, firefighting and other end use. So this is most important is it is mandatory to establish STP in high-rise apartments more having more than 100 flats. Due to lack of awareness and exorbitant cost in setting up of STP, many residential apartments, complexes and industrial units tend to avoid installation of the treatment of plants. So this is very important and nobody bothers about this usage of STP because it involves cost effective. So there is no monitoring system in our state to control it. So what they will do, the builders will construct the building and hand over to the owners. So owners, they don't operate because of the cost effective. So this is a very, very bad system existing in Hyderabad. There is no monitoring system by the government. So this should be monitored by the PCB. PCB is not having sufficient staff to monitor it. So everybody is not operating the STP in their premises. So adequate sewage treatment plant to be certified by the independent expert. Discharge of excess treated water should outside the premises after treatment in STP should meet discharge standards as notified by the CPCB or MYF guidelines.
wastewater and treated water qualification system be metering or submetering. Sludge from the on-site sewage treatment shall be collected, conveyed and dispersed as per the Central Public Health and Environmental Engineering organizations. So, where common sewage treatment plants facilities has been availed, it shall be ensured that treated wastewater is recycled back to the respective building for reuse. It is over again. Again. Next. So this is EMP solid waste management. So on-site solid waste management facilities should be developed and a formal constructional arrangement shall be ensured with authorized recyclers, concerned municipal agency for disposal of all non-biodegradable waste. Where there is no alternative arrangements for the disposal of the biodegradable waste, organic waste composers, vermiculture pit with the minimum capacity of 1 kg to 1 kg 550 square meters of the built up area shall be installed or operated. So this is the guidelines given by the MOF as well as the state government. A minimum of one tree for every 80 square meters of land should be planted and maintained so as to ensure at least 10% of the plot area under tree cover. The existing trees will be counted for this purpose. So what we are doing when you are giving the environmental clearance, so we are instructing all the proponents should leave 10%, 2 meters periphery, 2 meters width to periphery of the surroundings. So that means 2 meters along excluding the roadway. So some the building construction is only 5 floors to 6 floors. It's only 7 meters plus 2, 9 meters. If the higher buildings, they have to give the 13 plus 2, 15 meters they have to leave periphery of the site. But we are giving, but many people are not following this. So there are many in the municipality and government, they are not leaving the space. And nobody bothers about the monitoring. This is the existing system in our country, not only in India. This is so topsoil should be stripped only up to the maximum depth of 20 centimeters from the areas proposed for building, roads, paved areas and external services. It should be stockpiled approximately in designated areas and reapplied during plantation of the proposed vegetation on site. So nobody will follow this one also. Next. So this is the EMP management, how they will do the EMP management. So dust, smoke and other air pollution prevention measures shall be provided for the building as well as the site. These measures shall include screening for the building under construction, continuous dust, wind breaking walls all around the site. So plastic tarpaulin sheet cover shall be provided for vehicles bringing in sand, cement, moram and other construction materials prone to causing dust pollution at the site as well as the taking out debris from the site. So well washing for the vehicle should be done. So sand, moram, loose soil, cement stored on site shall be covered adequately as to prevent dust pollution. Wet jet shall be provided for the grinding and stone cutting. Unpaved surfaces and loose soil shall be adequately sprinkled with water to suppress the dust. So all constructions and demolition debris shall be stored at the site before they are properly disposed. Noise monitoring shall be carried out as per the prescribed guidelines to assess incremental pollution loads. Adequate measures shall be made to reduce noise level during construction and operation phase to conform to the stipulated standards by the CPCB and SPCB guidelines. So the project authority shall obtain regular power supply from the DISCOMs from the construction phase itself. So operation phase, use of DC sets shall not be permitted except for emergency use. Normal power demand must be met through power supply from DISCOM. So backup power. DG sets may be used for the backup power supply only for period of outage, provided regular power connection of the requisite load has been obtained from DISCOM. The DG set location exhaust pipe height shall be as per the provisions of the CPCB norms, and emissions should meet prescribed standards. So these are terms of reference for the EA studies. So standard TOR for the township area development projects as prescribed by the MYF, a report for the project activities requiring environmental clearance under EA notification 2016. So this is the how they will get the standard TOR prescribed by the MYF. These are the guidelines given for the to obtain the standard TORs. So these are all the guidelines stipulated by the MYF to prepare the standard TOR. So this is how the EC is granted for the projects. So this is brief introduction, only this one is. So I am very much thankful to all the members of FTCCI for giving this opportunity. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Hello. Thank you so much, sir. Now I invite Mr. Y. Maheshwar Reddy, Managing Director from Pioneer Enviro Consultants Private Limited, to give presentation on Environment Clearance Certificate and its significance in the construction sector.
Good evening, everyone. And I'm very thankful to the FTCCI, Sri Anil Agarwal ji, Sri Jaydev Mela ji, and Sri Sunil Chandra Reddy ji, and Honorable SCAC Chairman Sri Krishna Reddy Garu, and Vijayalakshmi Madam, Honorable Member of SCAC. I'm Maheshwar Reddy, representing Pioneer Enviro Consultants Private Limited. Now, today in this regard, basically, I would like to emphasize only on few aspects because most of the aspects have already been covered by the experts. So here, any developmental activity, the environmental clearance, why it is required. See, any developmental activity will have impact on the environment, like people, and then animals, and then flora, fauna, all this. So natural water bodies. So all these impacts will be there. So with respect to specifically coming with respect to the air pollution, any developmental activity will have, suppose any industrial activity is there, it will create air pollution from the chimneys and other things. Then vehicular movement will be there. So that also will contribute to the pollution. Then in terms of water pollution, normally in most of the cases, the industrial wastewater will be there. So if properly it should be treated and discharged. If it is not discharged and it discharged into the water bodies, it will have a detrimental effect on the environment because this water is used for several other purposes also. And then coming to the waste management, solid waste. See, most of the times industrial waste, if you look at it, the wastes are disposed. If it is utilized properly, then it will have no impact. And most of the time in chemical industries and other areas, if it is not properly used, dumped on the outside, and during the rainy season, it will have the detrimental effect because the leachate will get into the groundwater, and groundwater contamination as well as the surface water body contamination will take place accordingly. Now, with respect to the specific construction projects, next. Basically, environment clearance is required for mining projects, cement plants, thermal power plants, metallurgical industry, sugar plants, distilleries, highways, construction projects, and several other sectors. It is governed by the EIA notification issued by the Ministry of Environment, Forest and the Climate Change. It was issued on 14th September 2006. Next. Basically, with respect to the construction industry, normally residential buildings, commercial complexes, hospitals, then hotels, then IT towers, and then warehouse malls and several other complexes. So wherever there is a criteria to be followed, whether it comes under the EC environment clearance purview or not. Next, please. Next. Basically, see why environment clearance is required for the construction projects. Basically, earlier, now I'm making a comparison here. Suppose prior to the EIA notification that came into effect from 14 September 2006 and after that. So water requirement earlier, it used to be very high because there was no recycling practices. Water used to be, more utilization was there. So once the EC has come into picture, environment clearance, so there was a stipulation that you have to treat the water to achieve the standards, and then you should recycle the water. So due to these recycling practices, the net water requirement will come down. So thereby we are conserving the natural resource. And then coming to the wastewater. So earlier days, wastewater used to be discharged into the sewer lines. Now all the industries are forced to provide the sewage treatment plant. Construction projects. So once the sewage is treated to comply with the standards, and then it will be recycled and used for the purposes. Then similarly, the solid waste. Earlier, there was no segregation of the solid waste, and then there was no proper management. Now, with respect to once the EC come into picture, the segregation of waste and organic waste composters have to be provided. And from the organic waste, once you decompose it, you will get the manure. So that is used as a manure for the development of the plantation. And then there was no proper drainage systems earlier. Now there is a clear-cut guidelines on how you should provide the drainage system, and you should have the rainwater harvesting also in every of the buildings. Next, please. Normally, the environment clearance for construction projects will be, there are two types. One is the new construction project that is coming up, and any existing project which is going for the expansion or additional towers, that also requires environmental clearance. Next, please. So once as per the EIA notification 2006, 14 September, so if the built up area up to 20,000 square meters, no environment clearance is required. So from 20,000 square meters to 150,000 square meters, it is treated as category B2 and environment clearance has to be obtained. And if the built up area exceeds 150,000 square meters, then it is treated as category B1. I'll explain in the next slide. So in case of B2, that is 20,000 to 150,000 square meters, there is no environmental impact study required, and it is done based on the environmental management practices that are to be adopted. And the time frame that is required for getting the environmental clearance is around 2 to 3 months time from the date of submission of the documentation. Then with respect to the B1 category, which is above the 150,000 square meters, it requires the environmental impact study. So I'll explain the process how it is done. The process time is about 6 to 8 months from the date of submission till getting the environmental clearance. Next, please. So this is the process which Krishna Reddy sir has already explained. Next, please. Next. And basically, many a times what is happening is in construction projects, today we will see what we see on the land. We will see everything is clear-cut land. So if any developer purchases the land without getting into the details of the previous history, you have to go and search the Google history, how this land. Many times what is happening is some encroachment has taken place and the ponds have disappeared. Now there are several court cases is pending in National Green Tribunal with respect to these type of issues all over India. So one has to see the Google Earth history, and then the Survey of India topo sheets also, and the master plan of the city, and the revenue land records also. If any such water bodies are tracked out in the history, then before purchasing the land, one should go for the irrigation department and cross-check with them whether any such pond or anything was there, and obtain the no objection certificate prior to purchase of the land itself. Then with respect to the environmental impacts, basically, so one is air pollution, water pollution, noise, solid waste management, high energy consumption, and impact on land environment. I'll explain one by one. Next, please. So with respect to the land, the soil erosion is the one important aspect due to the clearing of the vegetation. Once you clear it, so then it is bound to create the soil erosion. So it has to be, I'll explain the mitigation measures at a subsequent stage. Then due to the air pollution, a lot of carbon dioxide emissions and greenhouse emissions also will be generated due to the fossil fuels that we are going to use here. And that contribute to the global warming. And during the excavation of foundations, handling of the construction materials, lot of dust will be generated. And during the operation of the, and then main air quality impact will be due to the DG sets, which is a backup power supply. Next, please. So the main problem is several construction projects are happening in a single area, a lot of it continuously. So because of that, most of the people are dependent on the groundwater. So due to the severe extraction of this groundwater, it is creating a detrimental effect on the groundwater table reserves. And then another aspect is wastewater generation. Then noise pollution also will increase due to the usage of the construction equipment. And then with respect to the solid waste, then construction and demolition waste also will be there whenever some demolition was there in the proposal. And hazardous waste like asbestos products, tar, fuel, acrylics and all, they also will be there. So proper disposal has to be done accordingly. Next, please. So with respect to the erosion control measures, the seeding and mulching has to be done. And the lawns have to be developed, plantation to be done so that the soil doesn't get eroded. So normally whenever we do the excavation, the topsoil has to be preserved because it has got more fertility and it should be utilized for the development of the plantation as a manure. Then during the construction, you need to provide the dust screens and sheeting and netting has to be done. Then spraying of water through hose and all these things will be done normally. Next, please. The sufficient green belt is to be developed as per the norms to mitigate the air pollution as well as the noise pollution. Then normally most of them will see a lot of wastage of water during the curing time in many buildings because they just with the pipe they will put the water and water will flow like anything. So there is a tremendous wastage of water during the curing time. So it has to be covered with a gunny bag and so that it doesn't get spurred out. And then next, please. Now with respect to the water usage, the dual pumping system has to be adopted because in dual pumping, one will have supply of fresh water and another one is the treated water will be recycled, such as for the flushing purposes and other activities. And acoustic screens will be provided to control the noise from the construction activity. And DG sets, of course, they will have their acoustic enclosures, which will be built in nowadays. Next, please. So normally the wastewater treatment and disposal. So wastewater has to be treated in the sewage treatment plant and it should be treated to the standards stipulated by the State Pollution Control Board as well as the Central Pollution Control Board. And then this treated sewage water has to be utilized for flushing, washing purpose and for the green belt development. In case of commercial buildings, it can be used for the HVAC air conditioning system completely. So one has to achieve the zero discharge with respect to this. Next, please. With respect to the solid waste management, so the separate bins have to be provided for biodegradable and non-biodegradable waste and recycling of construction waste generated, plastic waste to be disposed to the waste recyclers because a lot of waste recyclers are there. It is to be properly disposed. See, one example I will give you. What was happening is earlier, when the state government has initiated that the waste to energy power plant, Selco International, one power plant has been proposed in 2000 year, I think. So at that time, the municipal waste that was generated, that has to be used. First, they used to make the refuse derived from RDF, they call it, and that used to be used for the power generation. So there was no proper segregation at that time. So without segregation, if you put everything, all the materials into this boiler, so there used to be a lot of every now and then there used to be a lot of boiler problems and frequent shutdowns were there. So that's why after that, now the segregation has taken place. Now after this EIA notification, the things are getting into a better shape, and now getting into this energy, waste to energy is really much simpler, and boilers are also running very effectively with this. Next, please. Next. Now, once the environmental clearance is granted, then the other requirements is consent for establishment has to be obtained from the State Pollution Control Board. And then normally whenever the construction project is completed, 2 months prior to that, consent for operation has to be obtained from the State Pollution Control Board. And then once you get the environmental clearance, every 6 months, A compliance report is to be submitted to the Integrated Regional Office of Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change every 6 months, even from the starting of work. It should continue forever. So basically, what activities have to be done in the monitoring, I'll explain in the next slide. Next, please. So basically, in the 6 monthly compliance report, air quality monitoring is to be done, water quality, noise monitoring, energy conservation measures, and the waste management. These details have to be furnished every 6 months to the Ministry of Environment and Forest. Next, please. Normally, as I said earlier, no EC is required up to 20,000 square meters. No public hearing is required for any of the construction projects. Even B1 also doesn't require public hearing. But as per the rule, before getting to the environmental clearance, we can construct only the compound wall, and a security shed can be constructed for the protection of the properties such as bore wells. And then validity of the environmental clearance earlier used to be 5 years. Now it is 10 years directly. And once EC is obtained on a particular name, EC can always be transferred. Transferability is EC is always there. So if a new proponent takes over, then it can be transferred also EC. Next, please. Normally, in this type of projects, one important aspect is violation category. Suppose if any of the project is taken up without the environmental clearance and started the construction, then it is treated as a violation category. And in case of a new project, in case of an existing project, one project may take environmental clearance for certain built up area, like say 50,000 square meters, and they construct for 2 towers. Then they construct the 3rd tower without the environmental clearance. Then that is treated as a violation category. So in case of a violation project, there is a separate procedure has been prepared in the Parivesh portal of MOEF and CC. And for that, the industry has to pay penalty, and as well as the ecological damage assessment has to be done, and the certain amount is fixed by the government, and that has to be deposited with the State Pollution Control Board. And for the community augmentation plan and ecological damage assessment amount, this is to be deposited with the Central Pollution Control Board. And there were several cases pending on this violation also in NGT also. Severe penalties have been imposed, 10 crores, 15 crores like that, if they start the construction without obtaining the environmental clearance. Next, please. Now coming to the green practices in the environmental impact, in the construction projects. One is the passive. Design of buildings for passive cooling and maximum daylight. So in this, the reduction in energy consumption for cooling and lighting will be 1 to 2% annually. Then use sustainable building materials like fly ash, bricks, hempcrete. Hempcrete is a material. Nowadays, it is used extensively in the United States of America, where basically what they do is from the trees, the stalk of the tree, once it fell down, the inner material of that, the small pieces will be taken and it is mixed with lime, sand and water. So that hempcrete is made, which is a substitute for the concrete, and it will have 10 times more strength than the concrete. And also the weight of this hempcrete is 1/6 of the concrete. So but it is just not yet been implemented in India. Now trials are going on. So this would be a significant development with respect to usage of natural resources. It will significantly save the CO2 and greenhouse gas emissions also. And also we can use low VOC paints, adhesives, use of local materials. What will happen is if we use the local materials, transportation will be avoided, thereby the vehicular emissions will reduce and CO2 and greenhouse gas emissions also will get reduced. Using of recycled materials, reduction in environmental impact due to the natural resources, that also reduces the CO2 and GHG emissions. In the construction equipment, you should use the fuel efficient and the more, because the older equipment if you use, then it starts consuming more fuel and thereby the more emissions. So energy efficient electrical appliances have to be used. That helps in reducing the energy consumption, and accordingly the electricity bill also reduces significantly. Next, please. Installing renewable energy wherever possible, like solar power for the common lighting purposes. So this reduces the load on the conventional electricity and promoting the green energy. nowadays high solar reflectance index tiles and paints are used. If we provide these things, these tiles, which is also not very expensive, definitely it is higher than the normal tiles, but this will give a much cooler impact, and thereby the suppose in the air conditioned room, if you provide this, the efficiency, the air doesn't get heated up much outside. So there will be a significant saving of the energy also in this. So installing the vertical gardens and green roofs, vegetation and green cover in the open areas. So this is to be done. Using of water efficient plumbing fixtures. This saves about 8 to 20% if we properly done. Then design of rainwater harvesting system for roof and non-roof areas. This helps in conservation of water, and installation of energy meters and water meters at different locations will have continuous monitoring and improvement opportunities. So by implementing these green practices, the energy saving could be around 20 to 30% and water saving could be around 30 to 50%. So this would help in sustainable economic development also. Next, please. So these are some of the pictures of the vertical gardens that we can see. Yes. So solar panels are also developed here, and hempcrete blocks also there. And the Indira Paryavaran Bhavan, the Ministry of Environment and Forests building has been done on this basis. It's a highly energy efficient building. So it is using the renewable energy technologies. Landscaping also, greater than 50% of the area is covered with the plantation. Daylighting, 75% floor space is provided with adequate daylight. So these are the special features of the MOF building in New Delhi. Next, please. Next. So normally NABET accredited EIA consultants will take up this environmental clearance works. And so NABET has got a list of consultants who does this, and we are one among them. Yes. Yes. So very briefly coming to next. See, just over 2 minutes I will take. We have done about 800 plus environmental clearances for various industrial projects and thermal construction projects, thermal power, mining of minerals, coal washeries, and metallurgical projects also. We are accredited for 12 sectors. Next, please. These are some of our clients list. My Home Phoenix, EIPL, Meenakshi Group, and other things. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now the forum is open for the Q&A session of the.
Namaste to all of you. My name is Rashekar Tumala. I'm an accredited EA consultant with NABET, Government of India, Quality Control of India, and also accredited in Canada in 2 sectors, where I have undertaken 401 largest road from Ontario to Montreal, 500 kilometers road construction. I was a species risk ecologist with new discoveries in Canada. My question is, sir, all to the 3 of you, the August panelists, including starting from Ma'am Vijayalakshmi Madam, Krishna Reddy sir, and Maheshwari Reddy sir, you. So why in Hyderabad we have an Volta Act, which we have been Volta Act of 2001. And I was one of the person as an ecologist, like I table ecological points in Volta Act. Why our state is not focusing on the Volta Act related to soil conservation? In the business district of Serlingapalli or everywhere, the geological heritage of rocks is getting destroyed. And even the green belt, but even for the Hyderabad metro projects, none of the flora fauna projects are not being done EA studies. Recently, I talked to the Minister Infrastructure Minister, Mr. KTR, and there is no response from Hyderabad Metro. If you dig out any of this EAs, they have left out the flora fauna reports. No EA has been conducted, sir. Flora fauna is the least documented sector in Hyderabad region for any of the infrastructure projects. So my concern is how can we implement the Volta Act for the conservation of soil conservation green belt. Even CPCB guidelines is also they're brushing inside like the crossing or circumventing the green belt. For this August chair, I would like to extend my expertise on green belt because I have developed like green belt for 16 airports in India. And still I'm handling my knowledge for the defense sector on pro bono basis. And I'm an advisor for Telangana Biodiversity Board for threatened species since 20 years. So, this is done.
For you. Very elaborate on several issues concerned which should have been the responsibility of the government to follow to. Unfortunately, hardly 10% is being done. In fact, this sort of orientation should be given to almost all politicians, not only to our gathering. I had a lot of experience with the pollution control board. I mean, in the early 70s, the maximum water consumption was the factory where I was employed in Nacharam. And another one was at IDPL, Baranagar, maximum water consumption. Without water, the factory cannot run. And in our site in Nacharam, we had dug about 13 bore wells and not a single drop of water. So 100% we had to depend only on the government water supply. Now it depends on the whims and fancies of the fellow who distributes the water in the evening, opens, he has the responsibility of opening the taps and things like that. So they used to misbehave often for certain reasons. They were also fulfilled. Now, another aspect of pollution, what happened was we were not having any treatment plant at that time. We were just untreated water was being put on a pond there. There was only one factory of that kind. The whole surrounding was empty. There was only NGRI was the only neighbor, and Tarnaka had only one building at that time. There was no proper layout. We need to go by cheap to our factory. The problem became first identified as a smell because the sulfur dioxide treatment is there. So the entire area in the evening, the whole atmosphere was smelling. It's a pungent smell. I mean, that way it was not poisonous smell, but then again, it was harming the localities like university, the National Institute of Nutrition Science. They were all complaining. And pollution control was not there, but then Ram Reddy was at that time IAS officer. He was a very strict officer. So there was one assembly of the pollution control boards of the entire South India, and our management unfortunately was not very serious about treating. We had consulted Navy and others also, but they had given a very big budget for treatment of that plant. So at that time, that money was not available, so we were just managing some or other. The factory had to be closed down. That's what I am telling. I have visited many textile mills and paper mills also. So water treatment is one of the very, very important things on the effluent. And most of the paper mills are aside of the big FTC Madras and Andhra Pradesh paper mills to the. And coming back to the subject that I am asking Mr. Neelaji and also Chandra Reddy that this whatever we have compiled today on these lectures should be well published in our FAFSI review as a very, very important factor which should be within the knowledge of everybody. And we have all top references given. I am very happy if some of the big projects have really contributed very well for such other buildings. Anyway, I thought I would share my own experience. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any more queries?
Good evening to you all. Many thanks to you. My name is Murli. I'm actually a member of the Chamber of Commerce here and actually Vice President Marketing of Vedavak Systems Limited Company. Thank you very much for the good insight. I was a bit late and I could see Maheshwar Reddy sir's presentation. Very valuable, sir. And this is a very important aspect of our environment. To be honest with you, in 1968, I was just remembering, we used to never have fan in my home. And today we feel so frustrated, even AC is not there. And to be honest with you, this environment clearance is a very, very important aspect. And in this context, can I request you, what are the encouraging steps for the organizations to follow this environment clearance area? If any insight is shared, I'll be grateful to you all. Thank you.
Coming to the pharma industry, sir is mentioned in Acharam. So I was student in MSc in 79. So we used to get the foul smell from the Lakshmi Starch Industries in Acharam. It's very, very bad smell in 1979. So when I admitted in the MSc previous. So now pharma industry, so they have polluted in the before prior to 2000 only. Now every factory is installing generator system. Not on series and nowadays, so all pharma industries, so whether to establish or they are coming for the expansion, we are insisting to go for generator system. We are insisting without installation of generator system, we are not giving the sanction of the EC. That pollution is now it is very, very less compared to the previous. Only air pollution is there. So monitoring system is available, but the lack of a PCB staff in our state, they are unable to control it. So that is not in our hands, and also government has to recruit the people. And people should be honest. That will be regarding pollution of industries. So coming to the construction field, the only pollution is with water. They have to establish STPs, were mandatory. To establish the STP is mandatory. But functioning is nobody knows who is monitoring it. And the PCB is not monitoring it. So once the builders who will construct the building and hand over to the owners. So this is cost effective. So nobody wants to operate it. So they will directly send it to the MUSI. So that's why MUSI is a very, very bad position now. So now recently government, I think when it is come in Indian Express. Indian Express. So in Indian Express is given. So government want to treat all established 31 STPs. So 100% to sewage treatment plant they want to take. So they are going to spend how much amount? I will give the. So they are spending 3,866 crores to establish the 31 STPs in the first phase, second phase, and third phase. So in which mandate system is by the 40% is the government and 60% is by the so organizations, other organizations. So I think the government should take care of these STPs. So recently PCB has donated 1,68,000 rupees to establish STPs surrounding the Durgam Cheru. To control the sewage system, the PCB has donated 168 crores to the GHMC to construct the STPs.
Sir, with regards to STPs, sir, builders provide the STPs in the projects. They're doing it as per the norms. Unfortunately, sir, the electricity charges are so high. The welfare associations, they will run it for a year or 2 or 3, and then they start keeping it shut because of the exorbitant costs, sir. So through you, sir, you should request the electricity department not to charge commercial tariffs for STP, sir. There has to be some concession, sir. It can't be uh, whatever the modalities can be done, Jaydev Garu. But you know, the 12.5 rupees, if they have to pay commercial tariffs, STP, so like sir said, it is going into Musi River. Sir, koncham me nunchi, sir, because government will not reduce anything, any monetary monetary benefits won't be there. We will send a letter, sir. Yes. Yes, sir. Yes. Yeah. Sir, first we will send a letter, sir. Milant office, we will send, sir. Surely, surely, sure. Sir, also a request from the builder side, sir. You know, sir, kuncho, see, some people have taken EC, sir, but they have not taken CFEs or CFOs. Some people have taken EC, sir. So, sir, edanna okkasari one-time settlement scheme laga.
Last month, we have granted more than 1,500 ECs for construction field. Only 465 has taken CFE. So remaining 1,000 plus has not taken CFE. So when they are coming, when they come for expansion and amendment, we are asking the CFE. Now they are applying for CFE and coming to us.
Sir, 100%, sir, we agree. People have not applied for both CFE or CFO.
First they have taken CFE.
Yes, sir, CFE. Sir, lot of places అయింది రెడ్డి గారు అయింది సో అందుకే వారిని ఏదన్నా సార్ ఒక్క స్కీమ్ ఏదన్నా ఇచ్చి అందరు రెగ్యులరైజ్ అయిపోతారు సార్
అంటే దట్ ఈస్ కమ్స్ అవుట్ ఆఫ్ ది పర్వ్యూ ఆఫ్ ది పిసిబి అంటే మా పర్వ్యూ కాదు మన ఈసీ వరకే మా పర్వ్యూ సో ఎల్డిఏ టు వాట్ దే సెడ్ ఇఫ్ యు హావ్ ఈసీ నో రిక్వైర్మెంట్ ఆఫ్ సిఎఫ్ఈ బట్ ది స్టేట్ గవర్నమెంట్ వెంట్ టు ది ఎంవైఎఫ్ అండ్ ఆల్ స్టేట్ గవర్నమెంట్స్ సో ద రిప్రజెంటేటివ్ టు డోంట్ సో వి ఆర్ గోయింగ్ టు లూజ్ మనీ so impose CFE also. So the CFE is nothing but easy.
Actually, sir, it is totally with the member secretary of the State Pollution Control Board. So what can be done is, say, once a representation is given, probably PCB will look into that. Such cases can be resolved, sir. Only thing is some penalty they may impose. One-time penalty they will impose, and the fee has to be paid when they have started. And what 2-3 years, whatever is the gap over is there, that you have to pay the fees, and then they will regularize it. Earlier they have done in some cases. That can be done.
Good evening, sir. I would like to ask one question. This is Ramesh, and thanks for the entire Telangana Federation of Chamber of Commerce and Industry fraternity, as well as the dais members and on the dais members. How we can map insurance or banking sector with easy environment clearance? Actually, is there any mapping is there? Suppose I will tell some counter examples so that you can able to understand much better. A design of a building is not correct. Suppose a cellar is there. During the 2022 or 21-22 floods, the entire cellar is flushed with water, actually filled with water, and the insurance industry is badly affected during that. The entire cellar, total cars are flooded with water, as well as the soil, eroded soil. And to flush off that entire these cellars is evacuation of the cellar water. It takes 2 days. And it is badly affected the insurance industry. Is there any mapping so that the insurance industry or banking industry, while giving the loans or while doing this actually insurance mapping with environment clearance? And one more question, sir. I would like to ask in a dual plumbing system. Actually, so many corporate sectors implemented in 2003 and 4 at that time. Actually, everybody is got so many projects because of the dual plumbing system, and they are going to reuse the sewage water. after purifying it, not full-fledgedly, for these toilets and all this like that utensils, those areas, and that entire pipelining because of the wrought iron, because of this sewage water, that is badly damaged the entire buildings, so many buildings. So is there any necessary steps taken by the government of India or anywhere so that it is going to be very much helpful? So that these sewage, actually we are doing dual plumbing system is good, but at the same time these are not purified perfectly, and the good old days wrought iron pipeline system is going to damage that entire pipeline, and which indirectly going to affect the entire that construction of the building. Actually, that we need to take into consideration. And for first question, please.
Regarding the first question about the linking of the banking sector with the environmental clearance. Normally, any project which requires EC, environment clearance, like 20,000 square meters, or if they go for a bank loan, definitely they will ask for the environmental clearance. So there would be a definite record on that. Suppose if the built-up area is less than that, they have not taken, then it doesn't come under the EC purview, then bank will not insist on that. So banks will only, any project, not only construction sector, any industrial sector, this is a mandatory role. Any bank will finance. First question they will ask is, after all the other things are done, disbursement will take place only once the environmental clearance has been accorded to the project. Without that, they will not do. So that is your answer to first question. And the second question, the kind of material they use in the pipe. So that might have not have been in the proper way. That is one thing. And the treatment of the sewage has to be done properly, and it should achieve the standards. Once it is done, whoever is doing the O&M, all operation and maintenance of the STP, they should take care of that. And if it is done properly, then there will not be any problem. Proper material has to be used, and coating and all has to be there, proper pipe material. Then there won't be any such erosion, because there are several things that are operating very well. Only thing, it depends on the individual communities, how they manage and how much interest they have on that. That's the thing.
If the pipe system is perfect, it should not be any single leakage on the building. That you have to clarify that before the using that. Then absolutely there is no water leakage and nothing will be, there is no any harmful that. That is the main problem. If you are taking the bad quality of pipes or joints of rubbering and everything, it should be proper. If anything wrong, the water will come out. Then it is a problem will come. That should not be happen. Otherwise, there is no chance for the coming out of the pipeline. Sir, environment clearance they will give when it is very difficult to giving the environment people also giving every time they cannot open the flush the total building water, seeing that it is very difficulty.
The environmental EC clearance committee will have the environmental aspects of the project or the proponent. Be added as a consideration. Yeah, another thing is it all depends upon the developer who is doing it, the project developer. See, the committee or the government of Telangana or government of India cannot go and examine or inspect the materials or the building products and all. See, they'll give a guidelines like for
Directions.
Yes, steel or cement or whatever. So the proponent or the developer who is doing it, and obviously we have different standards. It's not the untreated water or whatever. Even in the mining industry. Sewage treated water, like let into the ground or onto the land or onto the sea water course or whatever, we have different standards. Like, so while letting out the treated water, partially treated or fully treated, we have standards. So it all depends on the owners of the association or whoever are. So I don't think government can pitch in and do the plumbing part or whatever. It all depends on the.
No, plumbing part has to be taken by the builder. After completion, once the builder hand over to the owners, they have to maintain that.
Even I would like to ask one more thing. In mining industry, because of lack of sand availability, the mines, actually underground mines are still running, and they are filling or not because of the lack of availability of the sand. Good old days, they are going to run with ropeway and they are going to fill the sand with underground wherever they are taken away that coal. Now, because of the lack of availability of the sand, that this implementation might not be done. I think it's as per my view. Actually, we need to for this environment clearance certificate also we need to take into consideration for this.
So when the environment clearance is granted, they'll give the mine closing plan.
Not
That
mine
is
closing, sir.
under the Mines and Geology Department, not by the Environment Committee.
No, the buildings which are constructed on the top of that land, mine.
How
Yes.
buildings
Are going to construct. Inside it is an inclined mines. Those are underground mines. Actually.
only coal mining is there. Only coal is under mine.
Whereas open cast it is a different story.
So open cast mining.
Open cast mining is a different story.
Yeah, we can have a discussion during the
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Now I invite Senior Vice President Mr. Meela Jaydev sir to present green certificates to the to the distinguished guests, to the esteemed speaker, Mr. Y. Maheshwara Reddy, Managing Director, Pioneer Enviro Consultants Private Limited. To Dr. Vijay Lakshmi, from Associate Professor from the JNTU University. I also requested to present green certificate to our chief guest, Professor Krishna Reddy, Chairman from the TSCSEAC, Telangana State Pollution Control. Thank you, sir. Now I request Mr. Meela Jaydev, sir, Senior Vice President of FTCCI, to please propose a vote of thanks.
Thank you, Ankita. It is my privilege to propose a vote of thanks. Successfully conclusion, awareness program, environment clearance certificate, and significancy in construction sector. Actually, for this totally, it is take full day seminar. With so many people is there, we can go full day seminar also. It is a very, very vast subject. It cannot be within 2 hours, 3 hours cannot be possible. Then also Sir has given excellent, Krishna Reddy Garu has given excellent brief what is there. On behalf of the Federation, Professor Krishna Reddy Chairman, and Dr. Vijay Lakshmi Garu also given the good suggestions and what is happening in that. I thank you very much, ma'am. And Mahesh Reddy Garu, Managing Director, he has given so much has given. And I very much thank you, Sunil Chandra Reddy, my colleague, Chairman for the FTCCI Environment Committee, Real Estate and Smart Cities. Mr. Srikanth Varga, member of the committee, for conducting this program. The deliberations have enhanced the significance of getting environment clearance certificate, ECC, construction sector, and the following environmentally responsible. I also thank them, all the members who has attended here, and real estate and smart cities, and from that. We'll have another good program in the future. Deeply one day full seminar, sir. And we'll clarify or we'll give the government what we required. Sir is told regarding power exclusive for STP purpose. We'll request to the government normal rate, not a commercial rate. We'll ask to them, and we'll send to the PCB also and sub chairman sirs also. You also can suggest to the department reduce the price, but how will we be 2 meters in the commercial, and that is, we have to see that technically how it will be possible. We will try that. I thank you very much.